Hey, welcome to Comic Books on TV, episode number 3. My name is Ford, and here's Hunter. We're going to do weekly reviews of Gotham, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Arrow, and the unbelievable, spectacular Flash episode that they did on Tuesday. So Gotham, not quite as good as last week, obviously, but still stronger than the majority of the episodes last year.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say there were a lot of plot points in this episode, but since the last couple have been more focused on what do they call themselves, the Maniacs, we kind of got updates on pretty much every other plot point on the show. So we can start with we have to start with Alfred, just straight up going Wayne Brady on Selena Kyle. Man, she should charge him. Shit.
That was pretty crazy, especially because she's been Bruce's only friend, the only person that helped him get things done in the first season, even to help, say about getting something done when Alfred couldn't, when they run away from the assassins. And the dude did try and kill Alfred and threaten Bruce. Now, Bruce should be more angry. Bruce is the one who's all anti-killing. This Alfred, I don't see this Alfred having a problem killing a murderer. Now, being a little mad, yes, but hitting a child who was I don't know. I thought Alfred was definitely overboard. That was a little out of character.
That was obviously the moment that the internet reacted to with the most vitriol or passion from this week.
I didn't follow anything. Did that get complaints?
Yeah, Deadspin or Gawker had a whole Alfred just committed child abuse on Gotham last night. The biggest event that happened this week was the introduction of Vic Mackey, or The Thing, or I guess Michael Chiklis. I was going to call him what he was. What was his brother? His brother was literally a testicle on Family Guy.
Yes, that's right.
Is that what that's from? Yes. As the essentially we've had proto everybody else. This is the proto Jim Gordon. So Jim's going to learn what he's supposed to be from this guy, it seems. Do you know any of the names referenced as these youngsters brought in on the police department?
I don't believe I did. I didn't go back and listen to it a second time, which probably should have. I thought about it. But by the time I would have gone back, I'd become so dazzled by the remaining week's episodes, namely Flash, that I kind of didn't go back and research Gotham like I meant to. Not research, but rewatch for some notes. So I never got their names. None struck a bell with me, and I've read my fair share of Batman comics.
Yeah, the line I think they're getting this story from is that Gotham PD comic that they published for a while.
The Greg Rucka one, the GCPD.
GCPD, exactly, yeah. Which is what I thought the show was supposed to be to begin with.
Me too.
But there were a couple different murders in the episode committed directly by Penguin and Zaz connected to Penguin. He couldn't have outsourced that.
No, I totally agree. That's my first note is Penguin is still getting better as a character. And my second note is Penguin is fucking stupid. The fact that he goes there by himself, or even with this dude, but he's walking around limping his stupid ass, committing these murders by himself. Here's the king of Gotham. This guy's running the mob, and he handles it all himself. Like the Zaz one, yes, send Zaz. Zaz should have been doing all of them, especially if he's this assassin Zaz. I don't like this assassin Zaz, but if you're not going to make him crazy serial killer, which hopefully they will in 5-6 years, hopefully they're building to that character, and they're just saying this is who he was. I still would think they'd want him more obsessed with knives than they are. But shit, this assassin guy, why is he not offing everyone? I don't understand why Penguin would bother risking anything and dirtying his hands. That being said, other note around there is I really do like Galavan.
Mm-hmm. David Frame.
What was that?
David Frame.
Yes, sir. I still remember. Yeah. He's cool and he can act. And Barbara, I'm loving this new Barbara, man. She's hot. She carries the part well. She plays crazy, and she's good. She's a good character now. After an entire year of being vapid and annoying, she's one of the highlights. As far as GCPD, see, I remember that run a little bit, and it was a great series of just Gordon, and it wasn't called his strike force in that, but his close people, kind of like in Dark Knight, it would have been the Major Crimes Unit, that kind of thing, and they likely will come off that, and I bet it'll be cool. But that's like Montoya was in that. Crispus Allen, who was in the last show,
right,
as Montoya's partner,
yeah,
he was part of that. Bullock was probably part of that, and then there was a few others, but it definitely wasn't a bunch of young kids. So it's definitely, and I don't recognize any of the names, so it's definitely going to be at least some different.
So here are a couple things there. So if you're going to cast a Major Crimes Unit in in this world, like, just get the Bunk involved, man. Come on, what's Wendell Pierce up to these days?
Awesome.
Or call Daniels. I mean, okay, just put any wire policeman in that, or heck, even Avon. Avon played a cop in Ant. And then, okay, but backtracking a couple things you said. So here's my note on Penguin, and it plays into exactly what you were saying. So that it was a stupid decision, but his performance this season is just so much better. Here's what I have written. He's menacing, not clownish.
I totally agree.
Which is a huge break point from where he was playing. I mean, maybe it's just that this Philip Taylor Lord guy is actually a really good actor and like changed the entire I mean, or maybe the writing staff haven't discovered it, but like whatever that change of like, oh, we're not going to make this guy the Joker. He really is going to end up being like a guy that runs a nightclub and, the Penguin, right, like a mobster, I'm really digging that character switch. And then secondly, everyone hates Zaz. Everybody hates Zaz, and it's almost a reverse of the first season where I hated Penguin, everybody loved him, but I love this dude as Zaz, man. His eyes are great. So
he does look crazy, and I like the character he's playing. It only bothers me just that if his name is Zaz, you would think he'd be being Zaz. But it is 10 years in advance. And last year I complained about how the Riddler was like jumping to Riddler. And the Joker, here he comes, the Joker, it looked like, we thought, 10 years before Batman shows up. So this is fine. And as long as he's interesting and good on screen, as long as I believe that in 5, 6, 10 years, this guy could become, Mr. Zaz, the deranged serial killer who, leaves his victims propped up in life sets and who, is just a crazy psycho who'll murder anyone, but likes knives. As long as I can believe he'll end up that, I'm fine with this. And I see no reason that doesn't leave that open.
See, I always thought Zaz was a really stupid character until Arkham City, I believe, was what changed my opinion on him. The phone call little side missions they had where you had to run around.
Yeah.
I mean, those were really brutal murders they had him committing. And you really felt a sense of urgency of trying to track each of those down. So that was my main experience with Mr. Zaz. All right, and before we get into the Bruce side of things.
Before we leave, Mr. Zaz, can I give you one little tidbit about Mr. Zaz?
Yeah, go for it.
For the comic interest of comic books, one of my favorite Mr. Zaz stories is it's Batman Shadow of the Bat number 1 through 3 or 1 through 4. It's the first opening series or opening story of that series, and Batman is dealing with Mr. Zaz, and so the cops go into this house and they see the family all sitting around the couch watching television, and then they go further, they look around, and everybody has their throat cut, and they're all positioned in like still life. Someone has a drink in their hand. Like, this guy's a psycho. And then over the course of the series, Batman like loses it because some cop says something, and he beats the crap out of the cop. And then he's at some point he's having to deal with Zaz in Arkham, and Zaz is like toying with him and sneaking his way out, but no one can figure out how. It's a cool story, but just Zaz, like, he's a psycho killer. He's a sick, twisted killer. And I've because that came out when I was kind of young, I've always liked Mr. Zaz.
I don't know what that says about. Um, you just went through all of that, and then we're like, so that's why I like that guy.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's good.
All right, before we get into like the Gallivan and Bruce side of the things, I wrote down this quote because this sums up Gotham in one quote. So when Penguin's stabbing the mayoral candidate in the neck, like in the most brutal fashion, and Butchie has his arms around these two people, and they're just looked in shock. And this is his quote. He goes, and she's like, "Why are you doing this?" And he goes, "Darling, I got no idea. We've been doing crazy stuff all day long." And it's just like, yep, that's Gotham. That's actually why I'm watching the show, because it's just crazy. They don't really know what the fuck they're doing.
You know what? That is kind of a good encapsulation of the show. Why do this? Like, I really don't know. It's crazy around here.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
So I just wanted to watch a show about Butch. All right, so we're gonna move on to Bruce and Gallivan, and you said you're liking Theo Gallivan's his performance. Now he's gonna run for mayor. So now there are two major mayoral elections on comic book shows, on DC comic book shows.
That's
and God knows, I'm sure there'll be like a Hell's Kitchen mayor plotline, something alderman. When it comes to the next season of Daredevil or Jessica Jones or something. But as of now, do you think there'll be any saturation with those two?
No, I don't. I think that this one, I don't know. I don't think so. I think that it's a decent plot line, and as long as they do it well, then they'll be fine. It doesn't have to be, a work of art to be done well, but just don't be stupid about it, and don't. My problem with Arrow is I don't trust Arrow to do it. Gotham, most stuff I find probably about Gotham is about little performance issues here and there. The overall telling the story, I haven't minded much of it, so I kind of trust Gotham to do the mayor thing. I trust Arrow a little bit less. I feel like so often Arrow will be like, it'll be a great scene. Let's make this happen. And then they're like, okay, so how can we have this? And then just someone throws out some crazy logic. And as opposed to being like, hey, let's refine that. They're like, sounds good. Let's just keep moving on. And so often you'll have this great show, and there's great like either confrontation or emotional scene. But then you ask like, so what? Why did it have to be so silly the 45 seconds leading up to it? And so I'm hoping they treat the mayor thing right. Is all I care about. Because Ali, but we'll get to Ali in a few. But that would be a great story.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is I can explain that in detail later, but that is a pulled straight from a great Green Arrow comic. So if they follow what he did in the comic, that should work out pretty well. Now, all right. So another thing from the comics, Theo Gallivan, and this is the way my notes phrased it. So he purchased a child to seduce another child.
Doesn't seem like it was not that way.
Right. Or maybe killed her parents to then have her like that's some very aggressive stuff. But anyway, the child that I'm referring to, Silver St. Cloud, I guess is how you pronounced it. I have no idea who this character is, and I've read 1 million Batman comics. So as someone that's read 5 million Batman comics, why don't you tell us about her?
So Silver St. Cloud, I can't remember if she started in the 70s, but she was big in the 80s. Early 80s, maybe even late 70s. It was the Marshall Rogers run. Batman had a lot of scenes with Hugo Strange. It was the mid 80s. It was like Jason Todd era of Batman. So
kind of pre-crisis then?
I was going to say pre-crisis, but it maybe Crisis would be like 3/4 of the way through this run or something. Like it was either pre-crisis or most of it was pre-crisis. Like let's say this was big like 2 years before Crisis when it started. Either way, Silver St. Cloud was Bruce's big love interest around then, and they were super serious. And she was another wealthy socialite, and she ended up finding out Bruce's secret identity, but didn't want to be with him. and decided not to be with him because she thought he couldn't devote himself to her because he was so single-minded on his mission. And she said that wasn't enough for her. And she's right, totally right. Like, yeah, that's not enough. And he totally is devoted to his mission. And that's why, Catwoman or Talia or some shit are the only ones that ever make any sense. It's because they're part of the mission. But she was a cool character. She was more than Vicky Vale. Vicky Vale was kind of a Lois Lane knockoff and always kind of vapid. And she'd fall for I've got to go check something out. And then, sorry, Vicky. And then Batman comes in and Vicky has no idea what's going on ever. So she was a cool character. She was tougher. She was rich. She was kind of like Talia in Dark Knight Rises, where she was rich and a socialite to go to the parties, and she'd try and push Bruce Wayne to great social causes. And when he'd play the stupid fop, she'd tell him to stop being, a jerk. She was a cool character, and then she went away. Most recently, I think Kevin Smith dealt with her in one of his miniseries that I didn't read. So, The Widening Gyre, or I can't remember. Yeah. So anyway, that's Lois St. Cloud that I can give you. There were some great stories that Marshall Rogers run, though.
So I guess I was under misconception then. So she's not like she doesn't have powers or abilities. She's not like a fighter. She's just a female character. I mean, it's so sexist to say that, but like there aren't many. So she's just like a strong female character who isn't like some sort of assassin.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Cool. Okay, that is. I mean, those characters are rare in comic universes. Usually, they're the females are hemmed into one or the other.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess in your opinion, she's a good choice to bring in another. Like they had to give this kid a love interest at some point, because it's the old Aunt Harriet syndrome, right? The Alfred and Ruth both have to actively be seeking company from the other sex, otherwise it looks odd.
Two things. Yeah, one, yes, I think that's all. I think it's a good choice, and it makes sense. He's a millionaire. It makes sense that his daughter would hang in Bruce's social circle. I think it's a cool character choice, and I think it makes total sense to the story. And then you said something else that I zoned out on. What was the other thing you said at the end of that sentence?
It's the Aunt Harriet syndrome, right? So,
Alfred, right? I love that Alfred is trying to bang Leslie Tompkins. Just last week I was complaining about that, and here it is. So I thought it was cool.
There's and that's a thing that whenever Robin's introduced in modern media, they both have to have separate love. Like that's just a rule that they kind of have to abide by. They never really and I guess Roy was the same way with Ollie. But anyway, so all right, that was Gotham this week. One more thing, the Enigma thing. That's the most annoying plot line out of. Maybe we can do a power rankings next week or something. But like, if of all the singular plot lines on all four of these shows, that's the one that I just want to fast forward through the most so bad.
It annoys me less than Enigma did last year. That's really the best I can say about it. I don't know that I love it by any means. It's not great, but I like it better than last year. I liked it when he screwed up and had the "leave me alone" moment. He actually did save himself and talked her into staying. He's still a little too weird, but I mean, I don't know. I like it better than last season. I don't like the whole pathetic, super weird, creepy, incompetently weird. The Riddler is supposed to be like super really smart. Like, yeah, he's a jackass, but that's why Batman deals with the Riddler. He's not like he's doing these super, giant, crazy nuclear threats, and he's not something the Batman should have to deal with, except he's too smart for the cops. And the cops are not portrayed as retarded when Gordon's involved, usually. So therefore, the Riddler has to be a pretty smart guy and a pretty competent guy. He's just never as good as Batman. That's why he loses. And so I like him better this year than last year, because at least he's seemingly going somewhere.
Right. Well, maybe that's kind of where we ended with Penguin last season. So maybe that by the end of this season, we'll like his direction. So last thing before we move off of Gotham, Michael Chiklis' character, who I forgot his name, the new captain of the Gotham. I'm going to clean up the blaze. He's totally working for Gallivan, right?
Either that or he's going to die.
Oh, I think both.
Oh, okay. That could be.
We've never heard of him, so which means he doesn't last too long. Right? Like,
yeah, true.
I mean, any character that like most of these characters, like, yeah, well, you're not dying, and there's but also it's Gotham, so of course this guy is going to end up having just as dark a secret as the rest of the people he's trying to supposedly clean up.
That would not surprise me. That would make sense.
Okay, so other than Gotham, I mean, Butchie just summed it up. I'll just read that quote again. I got no idea. We've been doing crazy stuff all day long. So we'll move on to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Why don't you talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. while I go try to find my notes for it?
Sounds good. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I really like the squad hunting down the Inhumans. I keep want to say mutants because this whole storyline makes me think of X-Men comics. This whole storyline feels like Hunt the Mutants. It feels like these are the pre-Sentinels, Mutants are coming out. Someone's got to handle this problem. That feels like Stryker's task force. And it's Marvel. Marvel owns the X-Men, even if not on TV. And so I don't mind them using the story for their own purposes. I think it's a good story. And I think it's pretty cool. And I guess my only issue was just to jump to the end of the show, since people who are listening to this probably saw the show. I don't really quite understand how the whole bargaining thing went down. Like he agreed the same thing he had offered at the beginning of the conversation, which was to be an advisor and to work with them because he's not under their control. She didn't know where he was. I don't know. We should jump back to the beginning, but that was a little weird. But I do like the Strike Force. I like this mutants popping up all over the place. Got to save them while they're trying to kill them. It's wasn't the best episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. It didn't quite live up to what I had just watched an hour before, which was The Flash. But it was S.H.I.E.L.D. is such a solid show. The actors are good. The acting is good. The stories, it feels like it could be Person of Interest or any other good kind of espionage show. And so even a slow episode for S.H.I.E.L.D. that wasn't the best, it was still, I thought, a fine use of an hour of television. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, the overt references we have to talk about. So I have my notes started with, oh, come on, this is just like Snatch, right? With the way they're like, going back and forth, the Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, another Guy Ritchie movie, with the way the we can't understand the Cockney and the British guys talking or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they had them walk into a fight club wearing jumpsuits with like shaved heads. I was like, oh, so they know they're referencing Snatch at this point.
Yeah, they just made it straight off of Snatch. You're totally right.
Right.
I actually those were pretty cool though. That's a cool reference. I thought that went over real well. I thought the Cockney bit was funny. I thought it was good. I like the Hunter and May storyline. I like when May's like, I just know I'd win. And he's like, yeah, you would. And when a tiny little Asian girl beats this dude's ass, a Hydra dude's ass in front of all these people, they might find out. And she's like, oh, right. Okay. I'm going to beat someone up, but I won't beat that guy up. Okay.
Well, her fight scene was, it looked like it was choreographed by the Daredevil people because she shattered like 8 bones. And when she kicked those 4 thugs' asses, you could hear the cracking when she fucked with those people. That was an incredible fight scene.
It was
which
great.
I'm surprised they get away with that on 8, 9 o'clock on ABC. But other than that, the May Hunter stuff is, like I said, I had written down, oh, come on, Snatch. And then, they knew what they were doing with that. I mean, the reference was so overt that it was obvious, intentional. So the other thing I have is so Lincoln, when he's like electrocuting the thing and he's holding the sign or whatever, there's a sign in the background that says Voltage. I think that's like his code name from the comics.
Yeah.
I think that there's a Voltage and that's what they're going to end up calling him. So
what I wrote down was Lincoln's dumb. Hunter's awesome. Lincoln's going to be a villain? Oh, no, he escaped. Not their best episode. Those are my notes. And the beginning was Hunt the Mutants. Love this storyline. Lincoln, like, I think anyone with a brain could see that he was going to have to go to S.H.I.E.L.D. During the first part of the show, when he then, caused tons of damage, helped that guy die just because he was being ornery. I thought that was pretty dumb. You would think, hey, we know that they're kidnapping people. I just saw a monster try and kill me the last episode or 2 episodes ago. I'm going to go with S.H.I.E.L.D. And so I found that a little silly too. So that combined with the thing at the end were my 2 of the show. Other than that, the fight scene with Hunter, the fight scene with Lincoln, his power is pretty fucking cool. And they do, sorry about all the F-bombs. They do a good job with it. And I liked that once they made the offer to her or made her leave him there, like turn him over, he was like, all right, well, and just takes them all out. That was pretty badass.
Like I said, at the beginning of this, or maybe I said it off air, it feels we had, rather plain, I wouldn't say lackluster episodes of Gotham, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Arrow. It's almost as if the Flash people tipped the showrunners, everyone else off, like, hey, we got this bomb coming. You might not want to go up against us. So S.H.I.E.L.D., it moved the plot along of a lot of things. Now it actually looks like Fitz and Simmons are actually together, which finally, Hunter and Daisy, or not Hunter, Lincoln and Daisy, which I have to say, why isn't Mac on the Daisy action? I mean, hashtag McDaisy. I'd much rather them be a couple, or if they're going to pair people off than Lincoln.
Lincoln seems annoying to me. And last season, he was just lying to her 90% of the time. So I totally feel you. The fact that she's like, I just can't help it. Like, nah, screw that. Unless they're going to go for, well, because her dad was a crazy murderer and she grew up in foster homes, she's attracted to damage. Unless they really get that deep into it, I think that was a weird and poorly played decision on their part.
Well, I guess they could say, there's some sort of maybe they give off a pheromone that only attracts Inhumans to, or Inhumans to Inhumans or whatever. So I have no idea.
You're right. That's a good reason.
That's not true because of Ward. So never mind. I was just trying to come up with an excuse for that not to be annoying. But so Simmons, either she has some sort of powers. The way she was hyper focusing on stuff leads me to believe that she that wasn't just some sort of I'm on another planet for a while. I think she has some sort of powers.
Well, during the most episode, I thought maybe it was just showing how affected she was, and no, I thought she had some powers to it. It reminded me of watching Smallville, watching Clark start to hear things. It didn't look like it didn't look like they were trying to convey she was just getting scared of every little noise. It looked like they were trying to convey she has a power. So I agree with you. It looks, if they weren't trying to convey that, I'll be surprised.
So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., this was not a comic heavy episode. The one thing it was heavy on, though, it was the way they ended it, with Bobby catching Simmons, looking at the wreckage of the portal. And that was a loss. She was not referencing, the writers had her quote Jack from Lost, right?
Yeah. I've got to go back.
She said, we've got to go back.
Yeah, we've got to go back.
Which is exactly what Jack says to Kate. You know what? That was the 3rd episode of season 3 too. So, that may be a direct correlation to that. But however lackluster the episode was, that Lost was one of my favorite shows. Heck, almost none of these shows would be on the air without it. And for them to be all right, we're going to pay homage to it, that's cool.
No, Lost awesome. So I thought that was hilarious. That was good, a good little moment. And whether they were trying to do it for any big reason or just, hey, throw a little nugget to fans, it works, and those are always appreciated. A little bit of fan service is always appreciated.
Yeah, I would like to see maybe the Jin could be May's brother or some or I don't know, at least that actor, or they cast some people from that show. So anyway, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think we're just going to move on to Arrow. We really just want to talk about Flash, so let's just keep this train rolling. So 8:28. All right, so let's do Arrow. It's hard for me to criticize a show where they're running around calling him Green Arrow and it's Star City, but not the best, but also not the worst episode. So
no, for Arrow, which has a lot of incredible moments and a lot of slap my head moments, this was right in the middle. It didn't do a lot that was bad. It didn't do much that was real bad, but it had a few little silly parts, and it didn't do a lot that was great. I do really, really like Thea.
That's exactly where we're gonna start. She straight up lit a dude on fire.
Yeah, she's fucking Jason Todd, man. That's why I wrote down as Thea's got a lot of Jason Todd in her. The post-crisis Jason Todd. Now, luckily they have the Lazarus Pit as an excuse as to why she's acting this way and why she's about to lose it all the time, because despite what everyone thinks about wanting anti-heroes, people didn't like Jason Todd that much. They didn't like the Azrael Batman. Most people want their heroes to seem like good guys, at least most of the time, and I think that she'll end up getting cured. But it's cool to watch. When she's good, she's having fun, and she's so much better at the choreography, and it's good to watch. It's fun to watch. And then when she's bad, that's fun to watch too. She lit a guy on fire, and then she kept hitting him.
Yeah, I was really shocked. And then afterwards, Captain Lance is like, "Yeah, you lit a dude on fire today, so back the F off." So when we're talking about the comics in relation to Arrow, the representation of Anarchy. Anarchy was a minor Batman villain that then got transferred to other people when needed.
Did he?
I don't know. I mean, maybe he's just a Batman villain.
He was a Batman villain, mostly, as far as I know, from that same era as that Shadow the Bat story that I mentioned, the kind of early 90s, around Nightfall era, and a little before that too, late 80s to early 90s. And he, one, was a Batman villain, which is totally cool to use in Arrow. But he wasn't just a straight up villain. He wasn't a crazy who was just murdering people. He was like an anti-government, and
right, that's what I was thinking too. Yeah, like
maybe he'd do some like domestic terrorism, as in blow up a bridge to make a point, or he'd threaten the mayor. Batman didn't like him because if there was somebody, let's say Bernie Madoff type shit, he would just kill him or blow him up on live television. And so he was a villain in one sense, but he was also punishing people who hurt people. And that's what he was saying, was anarchy. The government's not doing it, so we're doing it for us. But he wasn't just a murderer. So I guess we'll see the costume, and maybe they'll change his persona, or maybe I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I definitely was thrown a little bit off.
Well, he's dead, right? That's
no,
I think he lit on fire.
No, remember his body disappeared at the end of the episode.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay. I just thought that was the end of that.
No, the ambulance like crashed or something, and the body was gone. So I'm thinking burned so bad that he's going to wear the costume next time we see him, and it's going to be very reminiscent of V for Vendetta, where he wears the costume because he's burnt so bad. Because really, Anarchy, the character, came out, I think, like a year or two after V for Vendetta, and I believe is very much based on the Guy Fawkes mask and the hat and all that stuff. Like, he's got a very similar look and modus operandi.
See, I when I heard that they were going to do Anarchy, I got really excited because I was thinking like Anarchy is a more extreme version of he's got the same kind of liberal ideas as Ollie, and maybe they could but and then I thought they killed him, so I was like, oh, that's the end of that. But you're right. I think you're right. This is the excuse to put him in the costume, which they're pushing more and more season. And Ollie's costume this year just looks so. I mean, that's damn close to a lot of Green Arrow comics.
Dude, that's the version of the costume that I always loved. Was with they've taken it from drawing from my favorite costume from the comics to having my favorite costume. I never loved the Neil Adams, the hat and the mustache all the way out and everything. Like whenever I drew him, I give him a little more beard and scruff than he has now, but it was hard. It was kind of like Wolverine. In the movies, you don't usually have Hugh Jackman with the complete Wolverine hair going all crazy and stuff because it doesn't look quite as good on the screen as it does on the page. And so with Ollie, I'm okay with them not going full Errol Flynn, but I love the hood. And that's how it was in Longbow Hunters and in so much of that series in the early 90s that was for mature readers where Black Canary got messed up, we'll say, when she was raped and when he killed the guy. And, I mean, like that was the storyline, that was the costume, that was the look, and they're on it.
See, to me, it's almost a mixture of the that one, because I mean that one was almost, he was wearing loose clothes a lot of the times. Like everything was kind of like draped over him, the hood and the sleeves, and he had like
that's true.
And then the Neil Adams one, the one with the hat, like he almost had no arm, no room for extra cloths, and he had the hard arm guards. So it's almost like they combined two of the it's like they combined two of the more classic Green Arrow looks to come up with a new one.
The two Green Arrow looks. I mean, there's others that have been around, but those are the two classics. Those are the signature looks. So yeah, I feel that.
Yes, I'm gonna bring up the another Green Arrow look when we talk about Flash because they got to do it at some point. So Arrow. I was wrong. Captain Lance isn't working for Damien Dark to revive Sarah. Laurel and Thea are just like, fuck it, let's go do it.
Yeah.
Her body looked so gross. I can't believe I thought they were going to open it up and it was going to be gone. It would already, Captain Lance had already orchestrated that or whatever. But no, they showed her wrinkled, rotting corpse.
I was shocked at the corpse. It looked great. It was grotesque. I watched Supernatural, and it was grosser than any zombie or thing they've had on Supernatural I could think of. Like that corpse looked like a zombie. It was nasty. That was great.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I was shocked that they went that route. Damien Dark continues to be cool. I don't even know, he should have killed Anarchy like early in the episode, I guess. But so Ollie's running for mayor. This is the big plot point of the episode. My little brother told me that he's like, why is Ollie running for mayor? That's such a stupid thing. That can't be from the comics. Oh no, that is directly from the comics.
Yes, it is. And a good story too.
Yeah, and a story that was 15, what year is it? 2015? So a story that was literally 15 years ahead of its time. Because Judd Winnick wrote the post-Quiver, post-Archer's Quest, like early Ollie's Back Alive storylines. Those were like the first two big ones. The next set of them involved Ollie, going away for a year, training, fighting Deathstroke. We talked about that a couple episodes ago. And then eventually, he gets back to Star City and runs for mayor and legalizes gay marriage, legalizes pot. And this was like 2002. So, 10 years ahead of when the actual populace got on board with those things.
Hell yeah. Keep going. I'm running to get a soda.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to keep. Okay. So he legalizes gay marriage. He legalizes pot as mayor, as Oliver Queen, while continuing to be Green Arrow. A plot, whatever. But it is. For the longest time, Ollie was the liberal voice of comic books, the liberal voice of the DC universe. He, Neil Adams and Danny O'Neill basically admitted that, that's where they put all their crazy 60s liberal ideas was into that book with Green Arrow and Green Lantern. And eventually, what's a liberal, politician going to do? He's going to legalize gay marriage. He's going to legalize pot. And now I don't know how they're going to get out, Star City seems to be very modern, but very, very conservative. So I don't know how they're going to get away with doing some of those things. But
Well, but that's what he's.
Don't be afraid of the plot line is my big point. Is they if they do this right and if they pull from the right material, it could be great.
Well, and that's some of my favorite Green Arrow stuff, because that's my one problem with this Arrow is that he's not the emotional, the fighting for the underdog, the caring, the environmentalist, the extremely progressive, idealist Ollie. And I think that combined with his relationship issues and his problems in his personal life, or make him as a great character. And like you said about Anarchy, it would have been cool. It would still be cool to see like Anarchy come along those lines and not necessarily draw Ollie all the way out, but bring Ollie that, things could be different. Things could be more fair to more people. And he's running this obviously to be that beacon of hope, that light that people can look up to, and to help save his city. I think it's great. They're making him do what Batman never does, in the movies at least. He does in the comics not running for office, but he does, Bruce Wayne doing big things for good for people. But I think it's a great story potential. And as long as Arrow pays attention to the details, Arrow can be better than all the other shows frequently. Not usually consistently, but frequently it has much better high. You said before, higher highs. And
well, the thing about Arrow is that Flash is great. Mark Waid's run on Flash was great. Jeff Johns' run on Flash was great. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has all of Marvel to draw from. Gotham has some Batman storylines they can draw from, but the Green Arrow's plot storyline. There's a reason why there's a show based on this character who has, in the grand scheme of things, such little. He's got like 8 really famous runs, but boy, those 8 runs are just like, some of the best stuff ever written in comics. So another straight from the comics, Mr. Terrific. What's what's his secret identity's name? I'm forgetting.
I totally zoned out. Can't remember. Move on.
Okay, so the Mr. Terrific, he is a character that was a JSA guy, I think, for most of our time.
He was in the JLA, I want to say early thousands, like maybe the Dwayne McDuffie run.
Right.
I think he was a character that Dwayne McDuffie liked and brought over. And he was cool. He's super smart. He's like Olympic level athlete or something. And he's a genius tech guy. I don't see that. I'm excited. You know what? I love every time they dive in to new characters, especially when they think they're going to be main characters. They did a great job. Adam, I thought I was going to be angry with him being the Iron Man and not actually being Adam, for half the season. But I loved the job they did. They was cool. So as long as they do a good job, I'll be fine. And it looks like they do it cool.
Okay, so yeah, Mr. Terrific. My big thing with him was in Infinite Crisis, not the famous one from the 80s, but like the We're Doing Crisis Again thing from like the mid 2000s.
Right.
He's part of Batman's team that goes and hunts that computer.
OMAC? Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. See, comic nerd points for us pulling that out of our asses. The OMACs, right? From Infinite Crisis. I was like, oh, this character is kind of cool, but he has they're not gonna just like paint a T on his face, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no. They are gonna paint a T on his face.
I never considered they wouldn't, but now that you phrase it that way, like it's a silly idea, I guess you're right. It is kind of a silly idea. So
like I texted a picture of what he's supposed to look like to my fan of the show, but not like comic reading brother, and he's like, "What the F was that?" He's like, "What the heck? That's ridiculous." I guess
Mr. Terrific's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, and I guess we have to give a shout out. He's an African American, and they said he had a husband. So certainly two things that don't show up on either one of those shows, on any of these shows, enough. He certainly wasn't that in the. I think in the comics he hooked up with like Wonder Woman for a while.
I don't recall, but I do like that they're going this way. because whatever relationships he had, I hate to be insulting to Mr. Terrific, but didn't leave much of an impression on me besides that Infinite Crisis story and a little bit of the JLA run. So I think this is cool. You know, we got Joe, we got Diggle, and now have another brother, and he's gay. That's cool, man. Go diversity.
Well, and also it gives Felicity someone to talk to that's like not a threat to Ollie.
Yeah. Although in my mind, Ollie and Felicity isn't gonna work out anyway. So I don't really mind a threat to Ollie. I think that's fine. What do you feel about that? Are you for Felicity and Ollie being a happily married team or happy together team for years, or do you want to see him end up with a not always greatly acted Dinah/Laurel, or do you want to see him cheat on both of them?
He should be cheating on both of them. Because I don't like Laurel enough to just say, okay, he should be with Black Canary, but like it's not like it ever works out with Black Canary anyway. Like we know that he has children out there, at least one, and at least another theoretically coming down the line. So, you know, and not with Dinah or Felicity. So, like, but okay, so Felicity wants a code name, and are they going to end up calling her Oracle? I mean, is that
why not? If you're not going to make Batman, it doesn't make sense to make Batgirl. Although they are making Supergirl without Superman, so I guess never mind. I don't know. Sorry.
Well, okay. The rumor has it is that in the comics, as part of a revamp of the New 52, which is a revamp of whatever.
Yeah.
Is going to be Felicity's in the comics right now. So,
is she?
Yeah. She as well as Diggle and I think Thea is all transitioned in the comics.
I know. I've got like 6 or 7 issues. I know Diggle is. I haven't seen Thea or Felicity yet.
Yeah, I know Felicity is. So, but the rumor is that since she's in the comics and they want to bring Batgirl back.
They did.
Okay, so the rumor is that she's going to actually become Oracle in the comics, and then that way they can call her Oracle on the show.
Great. That's that. You know what? I've got 5 to 15 issues of a bunch of the New 52, like the Batman issues, most Superman and Justice League stuff, and then I've got like a 7-issue story arc in the 20s for Green Arrow, and I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, Batgirl. Batgirl's back. Her back's better now. She was healed, so they now the Killing Joke stuff happened, and she was paralyzed briefly, I guess, but she got better, I don't know how she got better, but she's better.
But so yeah, maybe that's. But anyway, I think having Felicity start the conversation about she needs a code name, and then Ollie being like John on the next line is. We know that Diggle's going to get one, and they said it was going to be an organic like creation of it. So, I imagine that Diggle will finally have his code name in the next episode or two.
Do you have any clue what it is? Have you heard anything?
Yeah, I was 100% sure he was going to be the Guardian, a minor Metropolis hero that came out of the Death of Superman.
Yeah, no, definitely. He was the Cadmus guy. I didn't know if that was anything official or just rumors still.
No, I was certain that's what. And then Guggenheim came in and said that no, he won't be the Guardian. It's something new that they created for Diggle specifically.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that part. Sorry.
So I was like, that's what it's going to be. He's the Guardian. I told anybody who would listen over the summer that that's what it's going to be. And then Guggenheim was like, nope, we created something new. So just wait.
Okay. So do you think he needs to be paralyzed then?
I don't know. Or she could die at the end of I mean, like, there's still that big death looming over everything. So Captain Lance is working for Damien Dark, and you're right about that for some reason, and he's now moved up to number 1 on my death list. Yeah,
that he's mine. I think that he'll play this out for a few months, and then he'll, I don't know, something will happen, and he'll say no, and he'll try and make his move to stop him, and Dark will just kill him. It's especially if they're bringing Sarah back, then at least Laurel still has some family, so it's not like she's now lost everyone, and that's that would be, not that there's anything wrong with writing a story that way, but that sucks for a character. So being that she's being given her sister back, even if she's gonna leave to join Legends of Tomorrow, you assume that Laura will know she's alive, and so I think that buys you a Lance death.
Yeah, I do too. So a couple things before we move on to Flash. Yes. Seriously, if people, Flash was that good. So if you haven't watched Flash, like, just go watch that right now. So this is another time where Thea and Laurel are just like, so we're gonna go to Nandor Parbat. And last year it was a running joke of people just being like, all right, I'm gonna go to Nandor Parbat, be back the next day. Hey, you want to go to Nandor Parbat? Let's go to Nandor Parbat.
Will they be doing like going to the gym or something? But instead, we'll go. No, we're not really going to the gym. We have a whole 2 hours. Let's go to Nandor Parbat. We'll handle some business, and then we'll come back because there's a time difference. So we'll gain up. What?
It's just that's almost a running joke at this point.
No, it is. Maybe the show thinks it's a running joke, and they're just like, "Yep, that's how you get to Nandor Parbat. You click your heels twice, and you're there."
I wouldn't put it past them. But something you referenced earlier, like, we know that Ray is alive, so maybe they want to deal with that plot line at some point soon.
Well, but no one else knows he's alive.
But like, where is he? Is he just running around the Palmerverse?
Yeah, I hope so. I
seriously hope so. Yeah, I hope that's
right. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. He should totally be in the Palmerverse, dude. The Palmerverse. Oh wait, yeah, okay. Palmerverse is fucking awesome.
Oh wait, no, they stole that for Ant-Man. They just straight up were like, we love that idea, but we're just taking it.
Yeah, that was pretty hardcore.
It was hardcore. Usually Marvel and DC are pretty good about respecting that stuff, but like, boy, that maybe Ant-Man had a run I'm not aware of where that was in it, but man, the whole micro universe, the quantum verse is what they called it, but really it's the Palmerverse. We know it's the Palmerverse because we read 52.
You know how else we know? It's because Ant-Man, they tell us that he can shrink down to fit in between the spaces between atoms, right? And then he somehow has magic technology to shrink even small. No.
Yeah, that was a straight up stealing of from something. But anyway, Arrow's good. The Mayor plotline, people, don't worry, it'll be good. The comics it came from were effing awesome, and it's the same comic run that Deathstroke storyline came from season 2. So.
That was so awesome.
It's the exact same run that Judd Winnick had when he was writing Green Arrow post Kevin Smith.
Before we go to Flash, let me get one quick diatribe in.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, cool.
What is here for?
Felicity. So I was joking about should she be paralyzed, kind of, because on the other hand, you were mentioning it's cool to have more ethnicity and more diversity, having a gay guy. Is it not cool to have a disabled superhero? Like
100%, yeah.
Oracle's badass, and she stays physically fit. She's super smart. Like, she's like a key anchor piece to the Batman universe, or at least she was, I guess. And I think that's a cool character to have. And so I don't know. I don't think that if Felicity's going to be Oracle, she should be Oracle. And if they were to do that, they probably want to have she and Ollie break up first, because it would really be bad for Ollie if that's when he turns into Ollie and starts cheating. It's after she was paralyzed, because that'd be hard to like that guy. But so they should break up first. But yeah, I think it'd be cool to see Oracle come back as someone in a wheelchair, because people in wheelchairs would love to have, I think, like to have a hero too. Doesn't everyone have a hero that makes them feel, like I see myself there? So
100. I mean, yeah, for sure. Okay, so I don't know why this comes to mind. Well, I do know why it comes to mind, because it just blazed into my memory. But like a hero of a show dating a handicapped woman and then cheating on her, I can only think of that happening once. And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen on television. Larry, I'm going with this. Larry David on a handicapped woman, and then when she's chasing him after she finds out he's cheating on her, do you remember what his defense was?
He hides up the stairs.
He went up not just the stairs, like 2 stairs. It was like
Curb Your Enthusiasm. Huh. Oh, I heard that might be coming back.
Yeah, I just that would yeah. So he can't do that because that's just burned into my memory. But
That was awesome.
The argument against her, the Killing Joke is basically like raked over the coals, with internet feminism these days, and the whole like refrigeration of women that Gail Simone wrote. But I kind of always thought that like the creation of Batgirl itself was a little sexist. Like, we have to have a girl hero, blah blah blah, and it has to be, give her purple and what they introduced her on the show, on the old Batman 66 show. And I thought that Oracle was a cooler character than Batgirl. So like there's nothing, I mean, that character was one of my favorite parts of multiple. I mean, my favorite part of Arkham, the first game, is Oracle like yelling at you the whole time.
No, I totally agree. Oracle's always been awesome. And she's a more like Batgirl's cool, and there's been actually, you know what? Other than the Batman the animated series, I never really gave a crap about Batgirl, to be honest.
Yeah, man.
At least the Barbara Gordon version, she was always written so girly. I thought they did a great job in Batman the animated series, but Oracle's a badass. Oracle's a bad chick, and she's tough. She's cool. She's brilliant. She's the only person around that you think, hey, this chick might be smarter than Batman. This lady's bad. This lady's cool. So maybe I haven't read, to be fair, I haven't read any of the Batgirl stuff in the comics now that she's back. Maybe she's a really interesting character. I heard the run's doing very well. But it's a shame to lose Oracle, because Oracle was a different, complex character who was just as strong and cool in her own right.
Okay, so before we move on to Flash, because we're done with Arrow, right?
Yes, totally.
Okay.
Oh no, the other thing was Felicity. Sorry. She was not great this episode because she was so emotional, I thought, and whiny. I thought last episode when she was the one telling, she was lying to Ollie and she was doing this stuff, being a superhero, fighting crime behind his back. That's so much more interesting character. She's cool. She's smart. This episode seemed like she was just this emotional foil, to act, and getting all beat down by it and make a bad decision. And at least I like her a lot. Maybe because I'm just a jerk and don't like all emotional stuff, but I like her a lot better when she's a tough character rather than being weak or being the love interest.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like Lila Johns, because a lot of times John's emotional about stuff and she's just like, what?
Totally.
So that dynamic was good. But again, Arrow is going to have a I think next week is the Flash is going to do a Rogues episode, which we like, but aren't generally like their most strongest of episodes. They're kind of, they can put 3 or 4 a season as filler because that's what Flash deals with those people all the time. Right. I imagine next episode of Arrow is probably going to be like, isn't it the Constantine episode?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think it's 3. I thought it was like 5.
Okay, well then they just released something like that. But I have a feeling, because I know that these shows at least are coordinated, that next week's Arrow is going to be like one of their better ones, and then Flash will take a dip because it can't stay on the high it's been on.
Right.
Okay, so before we move on to Flash, you're talking about strong female heroes and takes from comics and stuff. I sent you a photograph from the Supergirl pilot. It was one photograph, but to me, this one photograph from the upcoming Supergirl show shows that they have a better take on the character of Supergirl and than Zack Snyder did for all of Man of Steel. It's a photograph of Supergirl holding a puppy with little girls in Girl Scout uniforms with like hand-drawn S's and like just looking up at her with like beaming joy. And I was like, okay, if I wasn't on the show before, I am 100% in on the show, because that is the Supergirl that's what she's supposed to be.
Not just, I'm not as hard on Man of Steel as you are. I'm trying to, I've read Psalm 52 and what they've done is a little weird too. And they've got, they had at least a younger Superman being real brash and being a prick and kind of finding his way. And, I understand they're trying to do a new take and push new things, because the last movie was so unsuccessful and it's so hard to make a Boy Scout interesting. But you're right. She looks like not just representing what Supergirl should be, but representing what that shield on her chest stands for. And that shield on her chest stands for Superman. And Superman is supposed to be those same things. Like they're saying, oh, that S on your chest, it stands for hope. But that was the only time they talked about hope the entire movie, it felt like. And
yeah, it's just one still shot. And I went, wow, that is I want that as a poster. I mean, that is just like, she's just, she's holding up the whole representing it. I mean, that is what. Oh man, I am so excited for that show, and thank God that photograph sealed me on it. And Jessica Jones apparently aired their pilot or first episode at New York Comic Con this past weekend. And multiple sources said basically their jaws were dropped, and it's better than Daredevil supposedly. So,
wow, high praise.
Very high praise, but they're ramping up the promotion of it. She's been on doing the talk show circuit, and I am now pretty hyped for Jessica Jones next month.
I've been excited for it. She's a fresh enough character for me that I don't know a lot about what to expect. I know what PI, powers, some kind of rape or sexual abuse or something at some point, like she was kidnapped or something. I know it's doing some dark things, so it should have a lot of potential for some awesome, noir and adult storytelling, and that's what Daredevil was. So I see no reason to be anything but excited. And
the Luke Cage, a character that I'm much more familiar with. There's a video or an audio clip of him saying "Sweet Christmas." He says it in not a cheesy way, and I'm like, oh, okay. He's not like declaring it. He's just kind of like, it's like something someone would say like after hitting a nice like bowl. They'd be like, or a blunt, like, "Sweet Christmas, man." It wasn't. It really was. He wasn't like. It wasn't like it's clobbering time. It was just he was. It's something he says. So I'm down with that.
That's cool.
So anyway, the Flash. All hail the Flash. Yeah,
the Flash is awesome, man.
This fucking show, man. My notes, I showed them to you beforehand, literally devolved into illegible exclamation. I don't even know, like, what does this say? This just says, like, I don't even know. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, man, totally.
He explained the multiverse like on television. He just was like, "All right, so here's the multiverse. So I'm going to explain it to you first." And
dude, he says, "I'm going to kill the Flash of 2 Earths," and then, but then way before that, he says, "Hey, you know what? This is Earth 2," and then and hey, he says later on, he says, "There's 52 breaches."
He said the words 52. Yeah, I mean
52, and that, oh man. That was so much awesomeness, dude. The Flash of 2 Earths. This is Earth 2. You're right. He explains it all right there. It's like, hey, welcome to DC Comics.
Yeah, if you weren't already on the show, the guy that plays Jay is awesome. And they made the Panhead costume look pretty cool. And if that's accomplishable, then like, way to go.
They totally did. I said that to Crystal. I was like, oh my God. Like when the hat came out last year and it landed, I was like, great to see that, and it excites me. But man, that's ballsy to put that guy on television, and it looked great. He looked cool in his costume. Oh, Flash it's just a home run machine.
Yeah, and Harrison Wells' little cameo at the end was cool. I mean, we could go through the. I mean, where do you want to start at the beginning of this? I mean, again, my notes are illegible, so
mine go to weird rambling and just single words and exclamation points.
Yeah, I have Vibe. Like they actually had him. Vibe is the stupidest character in DC Comics. We knew he was on the show because that's what Cisco Ramones. I mean, Vibe is a breakdancing earthquake machine from like the mid '80s. I mean, and look at his. That's a costume that they won't do. Because it's just ridiculous. But that being said, when he's like, I just get this vibe from these things. It's like, that's perfect. All you had to say was you get a vibe.
Do you know much about Patty Spivot?
No, but the comic cover. Oh my god.
Oh, at the end they did the Flash of two Earths, both running in the wall in between.
Yeah.
I screamed out loud when they did that. I'm sure I weirded out somebody, but yeah, that was awesome.
I thought that was just gonna be a like a poster that they did for like the promotion, but like no, they were like, we'll just put it on screen.
Yeah,
are you crazy.
That was great.
I mean, that's what Zack Snyder is like incapable of doing is well, I guess I'm talking about Watchmen Zack Snyder here. Is framing a comic shot in a way that's like cool and I liked Watchmen. So
I liked Watchmen. I think.
Anyway, move on.
Looking back, because of the big blue penis, and because it was just so long, Watchmen. I mean, it was a 10-issue miniseries. I don't know you had enough for two 2-hour movies, but one 2-hour, almost 3-hour, 2.5 to almost 3-hour movie did feel a little bit long, and people who didn't know that it was to be the awesomest comic ever and to really pay attention to all the little references and all the little things they threw in Watchmen, there's no reason that they should be expected to be quite so appreciative of it. But I think as far as framing shots, I mean, you look at 300, he frames some straight out of the comic shots in that. And you look at just the preview of Batman Superman, when Batman shoots his grappling hook off the side of that building and lightning strikes behind him. It looks.
Oh yeah, that's from Dark.
Yeah, it's 90% of Dark Knight Returns cover where he's like this. So we'll see. I think Snyder's gonna do fine. Everything I've heard from everyone involved and everyone who claims to have seen it is all just nothing but praise.
Well, okay, so the Flash, yeah. His new costume looks fucking dope.
He just looks like the Flash.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the white, and he just literally he's running around looking like, and Jay looked like Golden Age Flash. The 52 was just boy, that's hinting at some stories that are just so good.
So since this show, anyone who's made it this far through us talking is watching these TV shows. Do you want to talk a little about 52 and why this is all so cool to us, in case they don't know?
Okay, well,
why the new 52 was a number they went with and why that mattered?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I mean, I imagine you're not referencing the like Animal Man and Question stories. I imagine they're referencing the new 52, which was the rebooting of the DC universe a few years ago. But the reason that they did that was because the best comics that anyone's published in the last 10 years were those 52 runs from like 2006.
Yeah. I think, wasn't there 52 pocket universes in the end of that series when Palmer ended up, it was like Mr. Mind or something was one of the end bad guys. And wasn't there 52 little pocket universes that,
so I guess they
52 weeks being counted down, but I thought there was also it counted down to the whole 52 big story end, which was the 52 pocket universes of the multiverse. Yeah,
I mean, I guess that they boiled down to all of DC history at that point to like 52 continuities that could be put together. So every story that happened on one of these 52 universes, and then at 52 was a countdown to the collapsing of them, which was why when they started the new 52, it was like, we're redoing this whole new 52 version. I mean, I don't know if they really did the new 52 versions or if it was just like, hey, people bought the old 52 comics, so that's what we're going to call it.
That's why I assumed it was. I don't know. I assume we like that number and we have 52 titles. I think they restarted with 52 titles when they did that.
Yeah.
I think they just liked that number because that storyline was so cool. That event was so successful, both critically and financially. I think they just went back to that number, and now they're carrying it on to the Flash, which was pretty cool to see or hear.
Yeah, I mean, even if we only stay on Earth 2 this year, Earth 1 and 2, he's already referenced that there are others, and there could be versions of others. So we've seen Jay Garrick in the Golden Age Flash costume. They probably won't do this because Stephen Amell is too good looking to actually put him in that stupid of a costume. But There's an old Golden Age Green Arrow costume as well. That red gloves, like bright red boots, tiny little hat, just like a tight shirt. It's ridiculous. But they should put Stephen Amell in that for just like a frame.
But how do they possibly what? He's in a costume versus costume contest, or like, how do you do that?
Or he could.
That Golden Age Green Arrow costume is so bad.
Jay hasn't met Ollie yet in this universe, so like maybe when Jay meets Ollie, he could be like, "Oh, look at this picture."
Okay, all right, yeah.
Like you could just do it, and one shot, be like, or heck, put him. Even it could just be his same costume now, but like with the Green Arrow hat, they're never gonna.
Oh shit! You know what he could do? One day he could accidentally steal Speedy's gloves.
There you go.
He could grab the wrong, like a backpack, and he grabbed the wrong boots and gloves, toss it in his, his bag, and he shows up to change. He changes. He's like, oh crap! And now he's got bright. Now they're not bright red because that would look insane, but they're red gloves, red boots. Okay, the boots probably wouldn't work because her feet can't be as big as his, but the gloves probably couldn't work either. I don't know.
So I sent my little brother and his friends watch these shows too. So I sent pictures to them of the Golden Age heroes because they thought the Flash thing was really cool. And then I was like, man, you should guys have seen how stupid it was before. Here's how they ranked them. They thought that Green Arrow's Golden Age costume, stupid, but acceptable. Superman's Golden Age costume, again, stupider, but acceptable. Flash's Golden Age costume, the way it was drawn in the Golden Age, ridiculous with the pan head and everything. Second most ridiculous, Alan Scott.
Yeah.
You remember the old Golden Age Green Lantern? He had a bright red cape, like green pants, a red shirt, like with like it looked like a fire hydrant on his chest.
Yeah. It was weird as hell, and his ring couldn't affect things made of wood.
Right.
It was all magic based. Yeah, it was totally different character.
Right. And then the most ridiculous, they all thought the Golden Age Batman was just silly and ridiculous.
The square, big square jawed one, or the skinny one with the giant ears and the wings?
The very first one, the giant ones in the ears and the wings. From like Tech 27.
Yeah.
Yep. They were like, what the hell is that? And I was like, oh, that's Batman. But yeah, so but they managed to do that costume just really well. And I have Wally and Kid Flash written down. Why do I have Wally and Kid Flash written down?
At the end of the show, an African American woman showed up, and Joe was like, hey. And then we didn't find out who she was, did we? Oh,
so it's Mama West. It's got to be Mama West then.
We're thinking either it's his ex-wife or his sister. His sister, right? It would be his sister. Isn't that?
I don't know. I thought they were going to do. They could do step like. It would be a more interesting character if it was like a new stepbrother or something.
Rather than a nephew.
Yeah.
I think either way is okay. I think if it's his sister showing up or his ex-wife, I think either way works well.
But so we're gonna get Wally West, and a little, he'll get his powers too, right? Or he has them already.
I mean, at this point, everybody's powers have either been from the particle accelerator or from Earth 2, right? And the Earth 2 ones don't even come with them all the time because Jay Garrick doesn't have his powers for some reason. I
just assumed when he put on his helmet that he was going to be like, oh, that's what did it.
I did too. I was very surprised. But yeah, so I think Wally has got to be from this universe, well, presumably. And I have no idea. I mean, you wouldn't think he'd have his powers yet. He obviously, in the comics, he gets his powers later. But in the comics, he gets his powers later from basically the same accident. And that's a bad origin. So if they say he's been starting to act weird over the past year and a half, and that's why they're bringing him home because he was getting in trouble in school and breaking things and almost killed something. I don't know. If they're bringing him home because of that, I guess that could make for some very good stories.
because he was out street racing his car and then broke his arm, and then magically 2 scenes later the arm wasn't broken anymore.
Maybe, I don't know.
That was a shot at shots fired at Fantastic Four.
That's right.
And Johnny Storm's ridiculous plotline in that movie. So yeah, the Flash.
This arm. Can you do some like mechanical work? Well, yeah, definitely that.
Yeah, it's magically healed. That was just ridiculous. But so next week we're gonna get the Rogues. But beyond that, we're gonna get Dr. Light in a few. Dr. Light is such a cool villain, even though they're probably not gonna go down they erased his memory and he's mad at them for it plotline.
Is he even going to be him, or is it going to be the? Oh
God, I'm stupid. We know it's a woman. I can't believe I just said he twice. Yeah, it's the female.
The villain Dr. Light from the original character and around forever, but more importantly, the sick, demented character from Crisis of
Identity Crisis.
That's it. Identity Crisis. Yeah, I love that story. I read someone rag on it recently, and I was like, what are you talking about? That's a great story. And Dr. Light is insane and a terrible person. But they're not making it him, right? It's the scientist lady.
Yeah, but they're going to make her a villain. And I hear that she's playing, like, it's just they're just switching the sexes. She's going to be kind of crazy. And
cool. Okay. Wasn't she a hero?
She was a hero, but then again, there have been like 2 reboots of the universes since the last reference point that we have. So
that's true. That's true. I'm a little out of date, and I don't care if they just want to make the first Dr. Light, but make him into a her, and her still be as crazy and a villain. I'm totally cool with that too.
Well, but really, they're so smart. Like, she could be from Earth 2 and Earth 2. I mean, like, it's just that MacGuffin, kind of solves any issues of continuity.
You're right. Oh, fuck Earth 2. They could be from Earth 54. I mean, 52. Of course, I go 2 numbers over what it could be. 52. It could be from any number of Earths we've now seen.
Right. Well, in Marvel, have their multiverse, and their multiverse goes on forever because, like, the Marvel Comics universe is like Earth 3A, and the cinematic universe is Earth 616. So. So their whole thing is goes way beyond 52. But so yeah, the Flash. This episode was, we haven't even mentioned the Sand Demon, who is a rip off from a Marvel villain, but they did a pretty good rip off of him. So
they did. I didn't. I thought this episode of Flash was so good that the villain, although he was fine, was a pretty small part. Which, looking back, good choice, because. Why waste a good villain when there's everything else going in this episode, including we already get to see Professor Zoom, who looks badass,
terrifying.
So I'm excited for Zoom. He reminded me kind of of the Black Racer.
That's what it reminded me of. Yes. All right, so Black Racer is a DC character, Marvel character.
DC.
Yeah, okay, DC.
He's a new god, I think.
Right, he's their version of Death, right?
Yeah.
He's literally... All right, so you're not going to believe this, people. There was a Marvel character by the name of the Silver Surfer, and then that artist got fired from Marvel and got hired by DC, and so his one of his first creations was, well, we have a Silver Surfer, Black Racer.
Yep, all in black on some nice skis. With a pair of poles and like all in black, maybe like a helmet on. And sometimes, you know what? He's done really well because Kirby was a mad genius. I mean, he starts out, does the FF, does Galactus the Silver Surfer, goes to DC and does the New Gods and creates Darkseid and all that, and then doesn't he go back to Marvel and create Thanos in them, or do they just rip him off?
No, yeah, he goes back to Marvel for Thanos and them for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, he didn't always use the most originality when he went from company to company, but start with Galactus, Silver Surfer, fucking Darkseid, Orion, Mr. Miracle, the whole New God things, Big Barda. I love those guys, and then to go and redo it with Thanos and Lady Death and all that.
No, the New Gods are awesome. It's just the idea of we had a Silver Surfer, and then like, what if we had a Black Scare?
Yeah,
was just. But anyway, yeah, there's no reason to waste a good villain on an episode this week. I love the idea of Barry being like, "No, put that guy in jail. I'm not taking any chances."
Yeah.
And then Harrison Wells, welcome back.
Yeah, I wonder. There's no reason that Harrison Wells should be the Reverse Flash, right?
No.
So he should just be Harrison Wells. So is this a way to reintroduce Harrison Wells to Barry's life? Like at some point they're gonna have to start talking over some kind of communication length and figuring out how to close these breaches. And so in Earth 1, it'll be Barry, and the other person on the other side he'll be having to work with is Earth 2 Harrison Wells.
I don't know, but so we know. So you're saying, all right, let me just phrase this in the simplest of terms, and then we'll do the comic math there.
Okay.
What you just said was Barry and Harrison are going to have to communicate and use some sort of communication to monitor what's going on in the breaches of the universes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you just said that they're going to create the anti-monitor, or he's the anti-monitor, or
okay. I didn't say it was the anti-monitor, but
I know. I mean, that's what you're describing, right? They're going to have to monitor the universes, and then what's the opposite?
Either that or trying. I mean, they have to at least try and close the breaches, but they're going to have to find the breaches, and they're going to have to, interact and monitor these 52 universes, these 52 trans-vibrational dimensions, basically.
He will be like the main villain this season. He'll be like hunting Barry from spot to spot, and sending different versions of villains after him. We know that's going to be the case. Like he'll be like the through line, like the murder of his mom was last season.
Right.
But then at the end, we'll find out that like he was working for someone that's trying to facilitate these being of the universes.
I mean, like, whether it's through Zoom, or I could see like Barry and Wells trying to close things or trying to mess with them, and the monitor noticing someone playing with the fabric of the universe, and the monitor or the anti-monitor comes to shut it all down, says that there's a failure or something, he for some reason destroy it all. No, they can't jump to crisis this fast. The newspaper says it's what, 2023, or it says it's
just thinking that
5 years.
I'm just thinking that might be the plot line they set up for next season. Like at the very end of this one, it'll be like, oh no, Zoom wasn't the real villain. He was working for da 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 da.
Right.
And whether that be Mr. Terrific's box or sphere being able to, connect to the New Gods, and then it's like, oh, it's really Darkseid or whatever. Or it's, there's, we're trying to safeguard the universes, but really there's something out there that's trying to facilitate the destruction, kind of a reverse anti-monitor, like, what I mean?
The anti.
I feel like there'll be because we know that these shows are extraordinarily popular. And it's, they're just going to have to keep going further and further into the wells. No pun intended, but where Flash could end up 3 seasons from now, we really have no idea.
I mean, they definitely have Crisis in their mind and on their board. It was that newspaper cover was a major plot point for all of last season, and so just to know that that's part of their strategy, whether it's a season or 2 away or 5-6 seasons away, I mean. Smallville went for 10 seasons. Supernatural's on for 11 seasons now. These shows on CW, as long as they keep kicking butt and doing a good job, there's no reason to think we won't get to Crisis in a few years here.
But you're also forgetting that there's a show coming that's about time travel. So, let's say it takes place in 2024. They could just show us to it in Legends of Tomorrow.
You're right. That's very true. I forgot about that. Or Barry's a fucking time traveler, so Barry could run into the past. Barry could somehow hit the future next time.
Yeah, there's or future. they have access to anything that they want. They have little tricks to get them to those places, which is why I hope Arrow embraces the magic underworld, that side of the DC universe. Like we referenced Zatanna on Gotham a few weeks ago. She'd be a perfect, extra addition, because if they kill a main character, they're going to add someone next season. So, they could add a magician type character like that on Arrow and do it just fine.
That would be awesome. I'm a fan of all of that mystic, genre on DC. I still hope they do a Justice League Dark. But yeah, bringing Zatanna onto Arrow, Constantine and Arrow. If you're not going to have Batman and Arrow's going to be, or Superman, and you're using Arrow as your flux point, he's the way that everything else kind of enters and goes around this universe. Use it, go for it, man. Bring in the Batman characters, bring in the Green Arrow characters, introduce new heroes, new villains. I love it. Zatanna's cool, makes sense. It would seem like in this season.
Well, Flash is keeps hitting. All these shows are popular, and they generally hit a ratings high, and then go drop down a little bit, and then stay at a point from there. Flash keeps getting more ratings Flash is going up every week.
That's awesome. That's crazy.
And I think it's because that they're letting them play with all the toys.
Yeah.
And Arrow, they're still trying to make this like grounded show, and it's just like, they embrace whatever the hell you need to embrace,
Yeah.
But I do have hopes for Arrow. We're gonna get they're gonna deal with there's like a Legends of the Future episode for Arrow in a couple weeks, where obviously it'll be like the start of the Legends of Tomorrow type stories. We'll probably find out what happens to Ray, we know that there's a Flash crossover episode and an Arrow we know that the shows are going to cross pollinate. So,
yeah, no, we have a lot in store for us this season, man. I can't wait for every episode when it gets there, especially Flash, and I can't wait for the mid-season breaks. I can't wait to see Legends Tomorrow. I want to see Agent Carter, and man, they better tell me what's happening with Titans. And dude, Supergirl starts, 10 days?
Next Monday.
That's awesome.
Right?
I'm looking forward to that too. Because you're right, that poster was great. It really encapsulates that vibe she should have, and the previews look awesome. I'm excited.
Well, okay, so it's 2 weeks. So it's a week from Monday. So today's Friday. It's a week from Monday.
Okay.
It's October 29th is the premiere date. So
okay.
A week from Monday, Supergirl will be, on the docket, and then Jessica Jones comes out just November 20th is when they drop the Jessica Jones series. We can wrap up and talk about this off air, but there have been a couple like out of canon comic shows that are like announced that we should really be writing for. So. There's a show called Power. There's a show called Powerless about like an insurance legal agency that deals with the aftermath of superhero related events.
I heard about that. I heard it was to be like in the DC universe.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, we've written that before? Like,
yeah,
that's
awesome.
I mean, like that's not that far removed from stuff that we wrote. So anyway, next week we'll actually have a Plastic Man pitch that I'm going to give you and the listeners. So we'll be back next week. These shows basically keep us on a high all week long.
They're good and they're awesome, and we appreciate listening. And we'll talk to you next week.